The further in they took you, the walls took shape. And soon, the cavern started to resemble a temple.
I continue to be limped, and go to third-person view. I scan my surroundings.
With your dazed eyes, you look around and notice the temple was like a small coliseum, filled to capacity of black-robed worshippers chanting their ancient hymn. In the center, was a knee-high carved wall that circled a large pit, and hanging high above it, the icon of the black goat, also known as the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. She is Shub-Niggurath, one of the great old ones. A deity so ancient they roamed the world before man had ever existed. Before the elves ruled the lands.
I continue scanning my surroundings with my Lycan.
As the twins take you closer to the pit, you smell that woman. Closer, you hear the high priestess preaching in ancient tongue, recognizing her voice. Closer, you look at her. Closer, with a good look, you're not surprised that the priestess was the mare herself. She stood on a high platform at the back end of the pit's edge with an altar displaying a statue of a deformed satyr. The twins handed you to a couple of handlers as they walked over to her as the ritual guards. Your handlers slumped your deadened body on the edge of the pit.
Just keep scanning, until the sacrifice.
You looked on the other end and see the counselor, gagged and tied up, being held down by another set of servants. Then you look down into the deep pit where you could see a Shoggoth. An organism that is old as the great old ones. It is a massive protoplasmic blob of a creature made of iridescent grotesque slime, with dozens of floating eyes of various size, spread throughout its gelatin form. Within its surface, you see a pair of bodies slowly dissolving away. They were the counselor's guards. The mayor tells the congregation how a mighty hero and a member of a royal court will make such a great offering to the gods. Everyone would have everything, almost godlike.
We call for you, we call for you,
After she performs a ceremonial ritual, she orders the handlers to throw you and the counselor in.
I shout out for them to stop, and demand to be thrown in first.
Everyone was confused, but excited for the opportunity. They know a hero willing to be sacrificed would be a great reward for them. It is like 1,000 bonus points reward. The twins think it's the drugs affecting your willingness, but the mayor knows a willing sacrifice even under the influence is under the same clause. She can't pass an opportunity like this. Scared you would change your mind, she quickly nods at your handlers, and without hesitations they threw you in.
I fall and fall. They watch me fall. Just as I was about to splash into the gelatinous goo, to be consumed by the ooze of the Shoggoth. Poof! I vanished.
Everything was silent, nobody said a word. Everybody was shocked and stupefied. Jaws were dropped and hands were in the hair. They couldn't comprehend what just happened. They weren't sure if the Shoggoth devoured you in a blink of an eye, or what.
I had teleported back to the entrance, and quickly cast defense spells. Spell Taker, to take away magic my enemy use against me. Mutual damage, whatever damages my enemy gives, they get the same. Now, I'll use the magic spell, Boom Mouth. I yelled, "Right here, you assholes!" Then I casually jog up to the pit, like this whole thing was just a magic show act.
Everybody is startled at your thundering yell and sees you scamper back into the arena, like this was just one big joke on them. They are confused and upset. They can't make anything out of it, they don't know what's going on.
I gave a pretentious wave to the crowd, and then a pompous golf clap at them. To further the vex, I proceeded to give a smugful bow to stage right, a bow to stage left, and a scornful bow to center stage at the mayor and the twins.
Deed and Dumb were dumbfounded and discombobulated. Deed stated that they drugged you, and that you drank the whole flask. Dunn stated that you were so lethargic and incapacitated, they had to drag you here.
I tell them, acting, just like how they were. I knew these fat guys were fake the whole time. When we were introduced and shook hands, I used psychometry. But a magic block was used to prevent me from reading them, and it was specific towards me. That in itself was a red flag. Knowing the block was for me, I asked the old ghost at the inn to do the read on them. He did so when they were waiting in the living room. The magic was strong, but he had enough info to say they were part of the cult. As far as the drugged alcohol, I didn't drink anything. I teleported the entire thing into the lake.
The mayor was furious and throws several spells at you.
I take this, and this, not that, but I take this. Thanks, lady, I yelled at her.
She tells the handlers to throw the counselor into the pit.
Dang it, I forgot about him. I reached out my hand as if I could grab him from afar, and did a yanking motion to the ground next to me. He was teleported beside me. I then grabbed the counselor by the collar, and I yanked him up like I was going to throw him into the ceiling. I teleported him to the church up above.
The mayor, fuming with anger, commands the congregation to kill you. They all rush over to you with knives and daggers like ravaged dogs.
I do a ball of protection spell. While the followers try to break the magic shield, I start powering up another magic using the collected energy from the spell taker. I will wait until every congregant is nearby.
They try their best beating and stabbing your force field, and it starts getting weaker. And there's just too many blocking your view to know if every single one of them is near.
Screw it, I think with the energy built up is powerful enough. So I cast the Philadelphia experiment.
Between your hands a ball of electricity appears. It starts to spark. Then in a blink, it explodes into a pulsating, blinding light, filling the entire temple. The light is so strong and bright, everybody could feel and hear the vibration from its rapid strobing. Then nothing. When everybody's eyes started adjusting to normal, they could see that everyone is fused into the walls, the floor, and the ceiling. Unfortunately, you were affected as well. You are a few feet away from where you had stood, laying in the ground with half of your left body fused in the stone floor. The mayor and the twins, however, are still intact, except for recovering from the blinding light. They are unharmed. Her magic shield shimmers and fades away. Eyes focused, she sees what had happened to her followers, then in a panic runs up to the pit. No, no! She cries hysterically. The Shoggoth is fused into the stone pit. Apparently it did not escape the light as well. She looks at you with pure hatred. She is so angry she shakes from the rage as she stands up. She waves and moves her arms and hands. You know she's building a powerful magic against you, and you don't think your spell taker is going to work. In fact, the Philadelphia experiment seemed to have affected your ability to do anything right now.
Well, I guess I just lay here and relax. Let the show begin. But wait, I just remember something. I reached in my pouch. When I pulled out a rabbit's foot, I quickly rubbed it in my fingers.
A bright ball of fire is pulsating in her hands. She rose it above her head, ready to throw it at you. You happen to look at the ceiling above her and noticed a follower hanging upside down, from his foot fused to the ceiling. With gravity and weight working, the stone ceiling couldn't hold him. His foot snaps off and he falls right on top of her. They both fall into the pit as the fireball shoots at the giant goat head above, igniting it into an enormous bonfire. The twins were in shock and awed at the gruesome scene as she and the man screamed to a blood-curdling death from the Shoggoth. After that, the flaming head burns its bounds and it falls right down into the Shoggoth pit. Now, all it is a giant fire pit.
Oh shit, I whooped out. Now, that's a calamity.
The twins' defeated face soured. They slowly looked away from the death of their priestess and their god, scowled right at you. In unison they both took out their mace and walked right for you with evil intent. You could see in their eyes they want to hurt you. Hurt you, bad, and long. Unfortunately, you still have no powers.
I looked at them with skepticism and replied, "What?" Then, in jest I continued, "Come on, that was funny. Did you not see the humor in that?"
They don't seem to be moved by your quirk. In fact, it makes them determined to hurt you a lot more.
I might not have powers right now, but magic items run on their own power. I wait for them to get closer. Wait for it. Wait for it. Then I ask them if they still have those crystal shards.
It took a few seconds for your question to sink in, before realizing the shards might not be what you said. They stopped in their tracks and frantically reached for the shards.
They weren't relocator shards, they were explosives. I say, kaboom.
The shards glowed by the time they grabbed them, but it was too late. The shards made a large pop. The small explosion blew their hand off and created a hole in their gut. They looked at each other for one last time. Then fell dead like trees.
At least the bodies did. I could see their souls still standing there, and the afterlight was surrounding the temple. For the good souls, you could feel the light as pure bliss. For the bad, well, the twins started to flee. I realize if I could see them, then my powers are back. I quickly phased out of the ground and grabbed Deed. After a brief struggle, I did some grappling and hip throw maneuver, throwing him into the light.
After your judo, Dunn looked as if he had gotten the drop on you. But being the loyal brother that he is, he ignores you and rushes right past you. Without hesitations he runs into the light, chasing after his brother. And then, there was nothing. Nothing else was happening. The bright afterlight was gone, the temple was calm and lifeless, the only thing active was the roaring fire in the pit. You look around thinking the mystery of the disappearing people is solved. Case closed.